Well, shit. We made it through another miserable year.
2016, babe.
Yeah, hey everybody, welcome back. We're back on your airwaves. Blood Feud podcast took about a month off to collect our bearings, spend some time with the kids.
To wait for some of the final movies of 2015 to surface.
I'm Neil.
Oh, and I am Sam. And today we're coming at you with a year in review.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about President Barack Obama's State of the Union address.
Which I'm super qualified to talk about because I saw exactly 0% of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started.
Yeah, so he was up there, and he said, it's basically going to be our 2015 year in review. We're only going to be talking about cassette tapes and novellas, no movies.
Can we do like
flip books?
those vinyl records, like LPs, like
EPs, LPs, 75 millimeter.
This is episode 11.
It is episode 11. What a good way to start the new year with episode 11.
The last one we did was Krampus. To end the year. Kind of.
I guess way this is gonna go is we're gonna talk about, I guess, some of our personal favorites of the year. I got a top 10 list. Sam's got a top 5 with some honorable mentions. We're gonna talk about our maybe like disappointments of the year. Not to say that these were bad movies, just maybe movies that didn't. I don't know. For me, I guess didn't hit where I thought they would.
I think like movies that should have been good, could have been good, but weren't. And
exactly.
I can think of a few specifically.
We're going to talk about kind of related to that. We're going to talk about the movie Goodnight Mommy, which was a film that we considered talking about on a podcast episode
until we saw
it,
and we decided not to do one.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to that later. We're going to do. Maybe we're going to do a couple movies we're looking forward to in 2016. And then the Oscar nominations came out today. I've seen them. Sam hasn't. So we might do some
reactions.
Some live reactions.
My reactions.
Yeah. So you want to just jump into our top list?
Yeah, without further ado.
Do you want me to go ahead and say you're without further ado?
No, that's all there was. Now, Neil has a top 10.
Top 10 with some honorable mentions.
I think you're going to be more in-depth than me.
Fair enough.
Have such a tough time with these top lists. You might have even seen more movies this year than me, but I have a lot of movies. I think some of my honorable mentions could cover what would have been my top 10.
Fair enough.
But I have a top 5.
I'm gonna run through my bottom 5. Well, the bottom of my top 5, just so that we're both at top 5.
Oh, okay, understood.
Plus my honorable mentions
good.
quick. So I started my list off with Fargo season 2.
Oh, that's
I know it's not a movie,
a TV show,
but every episode of it felt like a movie. It was perfect. Literally one of the best things I've ever seen on TV.
Yeah.
Watch that. I had Beast of No Nation, which was the Netflix film.
Oh.
It's a heavy movie. There's some stuff that happens in there that made me kind of like go, whoa. Here's one that I've got We Are Still Here.
Yep.
On my honorable mentions. That's one of the coolest.
Oh, so we're doing honorable mentions?
I'm doing my honorable mentions and then my bottom top 5.
Okay. I'll do my honorable mentions after yours then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, We're Still Here. This is on my list.
Okay, so we'll talk about it when we get to your list then. I had Kingsman: The Secret Service, which came out at the start. No, it was a movie. Came out at the start of the year, and it was by the guy that did like Kick-Ass. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Vince. Nope, I was gonna say Vince Vaughn, but that's not it. The guy did Kick-Ass, and it's just a cool spy movie.
Okay.
And that's my honorable mentions. So go ahead and do yours, and then I'll do the bottom of my top 5 or top 10, and then we'll do our top 5s.
Okay, absolutely. So for my honorable mentions, the first one is called. I think it's probably on your. I'm gonna predict it's on your top. Is Krampus?
No, it's not actually. I enjoyed Krampus a lot. I just couldn't find a spot for it.
And that's how I felt too. Another one, the spiritual successor to Trick or Treat, which we're both a fan of. Great movie, great Christmas movie.
And you know what? Speaking of Matthew Vaughn is the Kingsman guy's name.
Oh.
But speaking of Krampus and Oscars, I'm a little disappointed. We talked about this a little bit in the episode, but that Krampus didn't get a nomination for sound, either mixing or editing.
That's pretty surprising.
Because I thought it was excellent, but I guess like a film like Krampus probably isn't going to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
But
just a couple other ones. A movie called Digging Up the Marrow.
Yeah, which we almost did an episode about this.
Yeah.
This I kind of told you to watch before we had done any podcast. This was a little pre-podcast.
Yeah, it's a Sam Green film. He did like am I right? Adam Green, not Sam Green. Adam Green, and he did like the Hatchet movies. In this movie, he plays himself, and he's like in charge of a monster making movie studio.
Yeah.
And they come across this guy who is played by Ray Wise, who insists that there is an entire underground metropolis of these disfigured monsters, basically. Yep. The idea is cool. The movie is...
It's got some creepy parts.
It's cool, but it's less well executed than the idea.
Yeah.
And I still think it deserves a spot on the honorable mentions. It's a cool idea. And the last one I really want to mention, which might come as a surprise to a lot of people based on how much resistance and, to be blunt, hatred people met this movie with, was Spectre. I'm a really big fan of the Daniel Craig James Bond series, and I, despite the reactions to this movie, I enjoyed this movie.
So I don't have much to say on Spectre because I didn't see it, but the reason I didn't see it is because I heard it wasn't very good.
Yeah, I would disagree. Although, most people's reactions were saying that, it ruined the franchise, it's not as good as Skyfall, and like, no duh, it's Skyfall's probably one of the... I enjoy Casino Royale too, but I enjoy all the movies, and they're action movies. I'm not expecting any reinventing of the wheel, and I love Christoph Waltz.
I was really excited to see Mr. Waltz in
and he's actually
Bond role.
He has said, I will do 2 more films if Dan Craig will.
Yeah,
which I hope they do, because his character, I don't want to spoil anything, was drastically underused, and that's the worst part of the movie.
Okay.
Is that his character was great, and it was drastically underused. So I'm going to leave it at that. I did like Spectre. I will continue to support Dan Craig if he does more Bond films.
Okay, so let me run through the bottom of my top 10. Star Wars is my number 10.
Okay.
And let me know if you got any of these on your list, and we'll talk about them later. But, I mean, Star Wars wasn't perfect.
We can talk about Star Wars for a second.
It wasn't a perfect movie, but the reason I gave it a spot on my list is because, and I'm not even that big of a Star Wars fan, but the way I felt in the theater watching that movie... It was just like pure joy.
Yeah,
I guess.
That's a good way to put it.
And like, I mean, I could break it down and analyze it and say like, it fell flat here, or, didn't execute this well. But it's a good movie, and it brings Star Wars back to where it needs to be.
Personally, that's what I don't want to do, is break that film down and analyze it, because I think, in my humble opinion, it's an action movie. It did what it was supposed to do. There, like you said, there's some disappointments for me. Particularly, the only one I want to mention is that Gwendolyn Christie's character, Captain Phasma, was drastically underused.
Which I'm hoping a lot of that is because it's a trilogy.
Yes.
And this is technically episode 7, but it's episode 1 of the new trilogy. Yep. So, all right.
Absolutely.
Bone Tomahawk is my number 9.
My list too.
Oh, so we'll talk about it later.
Bone Tomahawk, yeah.
The Lobster is my number 8.
Talking about this movie.
Yeah, this is one of the weirdest movies I have seen in a long time. It's very similar to like a Wes Anderson style movie, but the premise of it is it's set in the near future, and if you don't have a partner, like a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, they send you this hotel, and you get 45 days at the hotel to find a partner. And if you don't find one within the 45 days, they turn you into an animal. But like, it's not like a graphic, because I kind of thought it might be like that. It's not like a graphic torture kind of horror movie. It's really like a comedy drama. John C. Reilly's in it, and he's pretty funny. But it takes this weird twist, like 2/3 into the film, and the last third is like really different from what you expect from the first.
Yeah, I gotta see that.
You should check it out. Yeah, no, it's good for sure. Colin Farrell's in it, and like the whole film, almost the entire film, it's like everything's very dry and monotone. But like, there's this crazy. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's really good. Number 7, I had Spotlight.
And I don't know this movie either.
Yeah, so this is it's about the Catholic Church in the early 2000s when they found out that the priests were sexually assaulting, and it's the journalism team that found that out. And this is on my list mostly because of the cast is impeccable. It's Michael Keaton, Mark Ruffalo, Rachel McAdams, Liev Schreiber, John Slattery, and Stanley Tucci, as well as a bunch of other people, and it's really well done. Number 6, so my last one before we get into our actual top 5 is a film called What We Do in the Shadows.
Yep.
Have we talked about this?
Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah, it's probably the funniest movie of the year for me.
Okay,
funniest movie I've seen in a long time, and it's a mockumentary about vampires basically, and it's so smart and clever, and it's only like an hour and 20 minutes, so like it doesn't overplay itself and it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it starts off with an alarm going off at 6 p.m. and the vampire wakes up and he's all groggy. He's like, I like to get an early start to my day. So, like, I don't know, it's little stuff, and it's the whole, like, I've watched it like 2 or 3 times now, and every time I find like a little something going on in the background or just something little, like a piece of dialogue that makes me laugh. Like it's really subtle. So
okay. Yeah, I got to see that one.
So let's get into our top 5. I'll let you kick it off.
Should we do you do all 5 and I do all 5?
No, let's do 5, 4, 4.
Okay. I already see a repeat, but I'm going to go anyway. Where's I got to find it cuz I have no. Okay. Top 5. My number 5 is as recent as can be. The reason it's 5 is because it's so recent and because everything else was kind of solidified for me. Mm-hmm. But I really I was blown away by this movie, and I didn't really know what to expect. It was The Revenant.
Okay.
So we'll talk about this movie because your reaction was not the same as my reaction.
Yeah. And I think I should clear it up because I put out a Facebook post and I said, I said like,
haters gonna hate.
Prepare to be upset. I wasn't a fan of The Revenant. Because everything I had heard about this movie going into it is it's phenomenal, amazing, etc. And so I guess I went in with high expectations, and I guess it just didn't live up to my expectations. But that's not to say that I didn't think it was a great movie. I think it was the best movie of the year in terms of cinematography. I think... Sam just nods.
No, I just didn't want to interrupt you.
I think it was one of the best movies of the year in terms of acting. Both Leonardo, because everyone's saying like, "Oh, Leo needs his Oscar, and this is the one that's going to get it." And I watched the movie, and I was like, Tom Hardy stole the show for me in that movie.
Which I don't agree with that, but a lot of other people were saying that.
Yeah,
I don't think Leo stole the show either because I don't.
Who do you think? I don't. The camera.
Yeah, honestly, because I was a bit thrown off by Tom Hardy's character. His accent was a little weird. I think he did a good job.
Tom Hardy is just a weirdo, though.
He did a good job. I wasn't like in love with his acting, and I wasn't in love with Leo's acting, although it's by far probably my favorite Leo performance.
Sure.
Maybe that's because he talked so little, but
he does. He's got like a baby face and like a baby voice, kind of. You know what I mean?
In this movie, he does a pretty good job of just looking so like at times emaciated.
The part. So I don't want to. I guess can we? Are we gonna do spoilers?
I don't know. We can try to do as few as possible.
There's a scene towards the end of the film, where he is.
Is this a spoiler?
I mean, kind of.
Okay, we'll let you know.
Go ahead and skip forward 40, 50 seconds.
Okay.
So it's. I'm gonna try to still try to. I'm gonna still try to keep it vague.
Okay.
So he's in a room. Towards the end of the film, he's sitting in a room and he's talking to another character. So there's your spoiler. He doesn't die, I guess. And it's him talking to...
Well, at least not at that point.
Yeah.
In the film.
It's him talking to Domhnall Gleeson's character, the commander.
Mm-hmm.
And just... It's when he's like telling him how he was betrayed by, whatever. But the anger in his eyes, I was like, that's what sealed it for me. Like, yeah. Good job. Good on you, Leo.
Well, and in addition, there's a scene where Leo is, I think he's either vegan or vegetarian, and there's a scene where he eats a real liver. That was real, and the way he pukes in that scene is his real reaction.
Interesting.
He dedicated himself to the role. I don't think it was like, I don't know what even constitutes like best actor of the year. I'm not really interested in that because I think as a whole the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Sure.
I love the cinematography. It is very slow. But
it is a long movie.
It's an adventure. It's an adventure from start to finish. And maybe you're into it.
I'm not really sure. Like, I can't pinpoint what I didn't enjoy about the film.
Or maybe what didn't push it over the top.
Exactly, yeah. Because like I said, the cinematography is beautiful, and I think the best I've seen all year. Acting, beautiful. But I did have, like, there one thing that I want to mention, and I don't know if you noticed this, and it really bugged me, and it just seemed, I don't know, the audio seemed out of sync.
Oh, really?
In some of the dialogue parts, especially with the Native American characters.
Huh.
And I don't know if, like, he had somebody dub over because they weren't actual actors. They were, like, actual Native Americans, which I support. But it was very off-putting. And there was one scene with Tom Hardy's character, I believe, that the dialogue looked out of sync with the audio, with the video.
I didn't notice that.
But I will say... I don't want to spoil it, but one of the scenes towards the end, actually, like one of the very last scenes, was it was so brutal,
dude. And the movie is really, for as slow as it is, there's so many brutal scenes. Wow.
I really did enjoy the scenes where, like, the action picks up in, like, the way that those are shot, but so
the last thing I want to say about this movie is I was very worried about the treatment of the Native Americans in the movie, that they would be treated as just some savages as we usually see. However, I think this wasn't the case. I think the Native Americans looked more noble. I think the white people looked like savages.
Yeah. Especially
the white people looked like
couple
savages.
Characters in particular.
But yeah, as a whole, I loved the movie, and I didn't know what to expect, and I was very surprised. So
all right, yeah.
That's that.
Cool.
How about your top? Your five.
My number five is Ex Machina.
Okay, and this is on my list too, but we can talk about it.
Do we want to talk about it now or when it pops up on your list?
I don't know.
I'll let you decide because I don't know where it is on your list.
I see another repeat too. So why don't we just talk about it now?
Okay,
let's just talk about it now.
Okay. So Ex Machina came out last January or February?
It was April, I think.
Oh, April?
I looked at, and somebody, you can correct me if you...
I remember it being cold out when we saw it.
Yeah.
Because we saw it together, right?
Yeah. We saw this in a big group. Yeah. And I'm just going to give this away. This is my number one.
Oh, okay.
This is my number one.
Sure.
But we'll talk about it now. And it's funny how we saw this movie and then Domhnall Gleeson and even
Oscar Isaac just pop up everywhere.
And one more thing about The Revenant. Domhnall Gleeson does a phenomenal job.
I thought all of the actors, and even there's the kid that was in We're the Millers and the Maze Runner, the kid with the eyebrows. Yeah. He was pretty good in it too.
Domhnall Gleeson is hot right now. So is Oscar Isaac.
Both of them, dude. They should just make out.
Yeah, I hope. I'd endorse it. Is what I'll say. Anyway, Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. I put it on my list because it's stuck with me. Like every time I think what were my favorite movies of the year? Because I do that like not like on purpose every month, but like I think about it from time to time, and I'm like, oh, Ex Machina always pops up for me.
It was April 10th, by the way.
Okay, yeah, sure.
That was released.
I thought it's like it's a modern sci-fi classic. I think it's carried by the performances of Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson, and Alicia Vikander, who plays the artificial intelligence in the film. And it's just unique. It's weird. It's funny. It's got a message.
It's dreadful. It's so filled with dread. And yeah, I just can't describe. The reason this is my number one is because of the way it made me feel for literally weeks after I saw it. And I think it left me feeling empty, but in like the best way, and I don't think I can make sense of that, but it's like it took something from me, but not in a bad way.
And you know what, this I think was one of the best stories of the year. It also had like really cool colors and camera shots and stuff like that, but as far as the story goes, because it could have been very predictable, and there's a couple of scenes where you think it's going to go that predictable route, and then it just takes a turn, and you're like, okay, where are we going now? And at the end I was like, this is good, it's unique story wise, and I don't know, I really liked it.
Yep. I don't really think we should even say too much more. If you haven't seen,
right? Yeah.
I'll be astounded if this is not nominated for something. I don't know if it'll be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. I'm not even looking at your face right now. I'll be astounded. Similar to the fact that if Birdman wouldn't have been even nominated for Best Picture, I would have been astounded. However, we'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Your number 4, sir.
Let's do number 4. And I already know it. It's Bone Tomahawk.
Oh,
which was your honorable mention.
No, it was number 9 on my top 10.
Oh, it was your number 9, which is, and that's why
it's an honorable mention.
Okay,
here,
yeah. So, but yeah, for me, it's number 4. It was number 9 for you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Bone Tomahawk, the biggest surprise of the year for me.
Yeah,
I think
it was. I don't know if it was a surprise. I think I gave my biggest surprise to We Are Still Here.
Ooh, but, okay, yeah.
Because I mean, Bone Tomahawk, for the most part, you get what you expect. Because I knew going in it was a Western horror, and you get 2 hours of Western or hour and 45 of Western, and you get 30 minutes of horror, and it's stellar in both regards.
It's kind of similar to the Revenant in that you get like an hour, maybe even 2 hours of like travel, journey, walking, and then maybe like half an hour of action total.
Yeah.
I do want to mention the Revenant's almost 3 hours long. It's a long movie.
Yeah.
Bone Tomahawk is
little over
just
2,
over 2 hours.
2:12.
The reason this earned a spot on my list and that it's 4 is because just the sheer amount of love for the writing of the actors and the world building.
Yep.
The way that this director and writer went out of his way to create something that feels alive and breathing beyond just the action and the dialogue.
I think that this film had some of the best dialogue of the year.
Yes.
And you know what? Yes. This is going to be a severely underrated film, I think, because we talked about it. If you want to hear more about Bone Tomahawk, go listen to our episode. Yeah. But it was shot on a shoestring budget. I don't think it got a wide release. If it did, it was a very small wide release.
It is playing on DirecTV now.
I mean,
you can buy it on television, which I was surprised by.
But it's still like when a movie gets put out directly to streaming or what have you, it's not the same as it getting a big release. And this is, I think, an excellent, excellent film.
Yeah.
I just found out the music was composed by S. Craig Zahler, who directed it and wrote it. So kudos to you, Mr. Zahler.
Yep. And if you didn't know, we've got Kurt Russell in this movie.
Dude, don't even get me started on Kurt Russell.
If you want to hear more about Kurt Russell, go to the episode. And who I always forget this guy's
Matthew
name.
Fox,
and
Patrick Wilson. And I want to give credit to Richard Jenkins, who played Chicory.
Who steals the show.
Yeah, he really does.
Who steals the show.
Hey, and I just want to say goodbye to my wife. I'll say hello to yours.
Yep.
Damn.
And that's that movie. I lost it. Oh, speaking of Patrick Wilson, you see The Conjuring 2 got announced.
I caught the end of the trailer. I was a little late to the Revenant, and I caught the end of the trailer.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that first movie, real quick?
I like it.
I think it's okay.
I don't think it's as good as people make it out to be.
Right.
I think Insidious is better.
Okay.
But I think James Wan is one of the best horror directors still working today. Between Saw, Insidious, I think Dead Silence is even a pretty good film. So I was pretty happy to see that he is directing The Conjuring 2, I believe.
Yeah, it looks more, if this makes sense, it looks more produced. Obviously, it's been years since. It's been 4 years. I think that was 2012. That was The Conjuring.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks definitely more produced, but
I knew this, but I forgot about it. But James Wan is doing Aquaman.
Oh, that's strange.
Which is pretty awesome.
Well, I was just curious.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Patrick Wilson. But yeah, Bone Tomahawk absolutely deserves a spot on.
Yeah, I just realized Patrick Wilson's in 2 spots on my list. My top 10 plus honorable mentions. There's a couple actors that are in multiple spots on my list.
Okay, well, let's go to your number 4.
Number 4 is It Follows.
Another one that's on my list. We can just talk about it now. Let's say
we were going to do a whole episode to this, but when we had started, this film was already almost 8 months old, I think.
Yeah, which we did do Creep, but, that was an exception.
But It Follows was kind of like it kind of got a little bit of a following, because, like I said, it had a theater release.
Pun intended.
And, pun intended. And it, I think it being shot in Detroit helped it out a little bit. As far as local following. I don't know. It's one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time.
Again, because of the sense of utter dread.
Yes, throughout the whole film.
Which is accomplished both by the grinding synthy soundtrack. Reminiscent of something, an 80s slasher film. It does feel like it inhibits that period, almost the MTV period as well, as my buddy Logan pointed out. And this film is not I don't really think it's a conventional horror film.
Not at all, no. You know what? I mean, like, if I had to, when I've described this film to people, I say kind of think of it like The Ring.
Yes.
It's similar to something like The Ring, but it's better.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much about this one.
I think you said, like, the score helps build that dread throughout the whole film. I also think the cinematography, which was excellent, super, super good. Because it's constantly got you thinking what's going to happen, where's it going to come from. There's a lot of motion, which you don't see a lot of times in horror films.
It's a lot of slow
It's
panning.
not shaky. It's it's slow, very meticulous and thought out.
Which mirrors another element of the film that I don't want to give away. The other thing that's cool about the film that I won't talk about much is the timelessness of it, not of the movie itself, but that the setting inhabits. There's a very strange, I don't want to say too much, just look out for it when you watch it. There's a very strange timeless feeling, and you can't quite figure out when it's happening.
You could honestly make an argument for it being set in any year, I would say easily back to the 80s, maybe back to the 70s.
So that's that one. It Follows, genuinely one of my favorite movies of the year. It was my top 2.
Okay.
So again, we've already covered my 1 and 2. I'll review it one more time. There's only one more movie on my list to cover.
I feel kind of bad.
No, that's okay. We're covering all the bases. And are we there now? We can go to my 3, right?
Yeah, let's do your 3.
It's We Are Still Here. And let's talk, because this was your 7?
It was an honorable mention. Okay. Because I didn't want to have too much horror on my list.
I guess
I mean?
I did have a lot of horror. It just so happens a lot of my favorite movies were horror movies this year.
What are your thoughts on We Are Still Here?
Another big surprise, although when I watched it, I didn't even know about it, so I'm not going to say I was as surprised as you were. This was a movie that me and my buddy Mark just happened to watch. I think he rented it off iTunes, because we sometimes watch horror movies, and he's like, this one looks all right, because most of them are not all right, and
what did Mark think of that movie?
He really liked it too, but I don't know if he liked it as much as me. He might have, but I can't recommend this movie enough. It's more in lieu of classical
haunted house, but it's got a really cool twist.
I don't even want to talk about it. Cinematography in this one's great. The use of color and filter in this one is great.
Sure,
the gore is great.
The gore, the creature designs.
Yeah. The acting, too.
I
mean, it's very minimalistic. Similar to Bone Tomahawk, the dialogue is very lovingly crafted.
Yeah. Go watch that movie.
I don't even know. If you like, it's like if Amityville Horror was on steroids or something. I don't know. It's just it's even better than that concept. It's just good. Watch it.
So, yeah. Cool. So I guess I'll do my 3, 2, and 1 in a row, because you're all...
Yep. And again, so that was my 3. 2 is It Follows, and 1 is Ex Machina.
Okay. Yeah. My number 3 is Creed.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Creed the band.
Creed the band.
No, Creed the Rocky movie, starring Michael B. Jordan and Sly Stallone. This is an excellent, amazing film. Okay. It's directed by a guy named Ryan Coogler. Young guy. I think he's still in his 20s, and they just signed him on to do... you Googled Creed and it popped up with the band.
I typed in Creed band for a reason. I do want to make a comment.
Ryan Coogler is a young guy. He made a film called Fruitvale Station. He's 29.
Okay.
Oh wow. And he just recently signed on to do Black Panther for Marvel.
Oh,
which
cool.
I guess, like, in modern Hollywood, the biggest thing you can do is Marvel or Star Wars. So good for you, Ryan Coogler. But Creed is emotional. It's smart. It's action-packed. So it's basically, since you've not seen it, have you seen any of the...
I have not seen it.
Have you seen any of the Rocky films?
Yes, I've seen Rocky 4, which is arguably the worst Rocky film.
I would say you should watch this, even if you haven't seen any of the Rocky films. Just knowing who Rocky is enough. But does
he play Rocky in that movie?
Yeah, so Stallone is old Rocky.
Did not know that.
Fun fact, I know you haven't seen it, but the guy that trains Rocky in the original Rocky, his name is Mickey. Stallone is as old as the guy that played Mickey was.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
When they did Rocky 1, which is interesting. So it's the first guy that Rocky fights, and like his biggest rival, I guess, is Apollo Creed, and this is Creed's son that finds out at a young age that he is the son of this world famous boxer, and he kind of decides, he's like, well, I'm gonna go do boxing. Like he ends up being like, he has a lot of money.
Okay.
But he's like, this isn't, my heart's not in it. My heart's in fighting.
Right.
And he knows Rocky because that was like his dad's rival. And he goes out there and he convinces Rocky, because Rocky's like, oh, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
He convinces Rocky to be his trainer. And it's just basically him, rising to the top of the boxing world with Rocky as his trainer. It's shot super, super, super well. They do one of the fights. It's like 4 or 5 rounds, single take.
No, that's cool.
So you go from start of the fight to finish. The camera's going in between them, around them, into their corners, in between rounds. It's really, really cool. Stallone gives one of my favorite performances of the year, which I was totally surprised by.
That's surprising.
It's a joke. Stallone was basically a joke. He's
right.
got the weird voice and he looks kind of weird. And it's just so emotional to see this guy as an old man. And like, there's some stuff that happens that I don't want to give away. I guess it delivers, pun intended, an emotional punch.
Okay.
So that's my number 3. That's
all right,
Creed.
We'll leave it at that.
My number 2.
I predicted this would be on your list.
You saw it. Did we see it together?
No. Yes.
You saw
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it with you.
Mad Max Fury Road.
Fury Road. Yeah.
Excellent film. This was my number 1 all year. I don't know if you saw my
another
number
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy was going to be on my list twice, but I didn't put the Revenant on there. But
right.
Mad Max Fury Road. So I had seen all the Mad Maxes, and they're fun little apocalyptic action films. This is a straight up blockbuster. It's an amazing,
like kitchen sink.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
Including the kitchen sink.
Literally, there's probably a kitchen sink somewhere, because the production design on this film is amazing. From the cars to the costumes.
Yeah.
George Miller, the director, is 70 years old. He's an old man.
Yeah.
And he directed the most kick-ass movie of the year.
Yeah.
And there's like very little CGI, at least noticeable CGI, a lot of practical effects. The storyline is super simple. I think it's cool that it's a feminist movie.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't, it would be on a list of mine for a reason like that. Like, that was awesome. And I do think it was, as you say, the most kick-ass movie of the year.
Yeah. And so
No
my biggest thing for me in terms of it being on my list is this movie. So say you got a scale 1 out of 10. What was the action like in this movie? And you might go watch an action movie and it starts at a 3, you get to a 5, maybe you end at a 7. This movie literally starts at a 10, and by the end of it, you're at 100 billion. It just keeps going, and it doesn't stop.
And I don't remember, we had talked at one point where like one of the first scenes is that scene from the trailer with that giant desert tornado,
which you assume is going to be the climax of the film,
and you
based
just
on the trailer, and it happens in the first 15 minutes. Yeah,
if that's the first sequence.
I loved that movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
And then my number 1 movie, which I know a lot of people don't agree with, is The Hateful Eight.
And I didn't see it. Why
you didn't
haven't I
see
seen
it? Go see it.
That movie legitimately is 3 hours long.
This episode's over. You're going to see Hateful Eight.
I'm gonna cancel. I gotta cancel all my work positions. So give me a second.
Just kidding. I'm back. Hateful Eight is my number 1, and I know that a lot of people aren't going to agree with that, and I'm okay with that. I'm a Tarantino fanboy, and I'm okay with admitting that. But, And I don't want to say too much, because this is literally, Hateful Eight is a mystery. Like, it's a mystery film. Tarantino said he read a lot of Agatha Christie while he was writing the script.
That's so interesting.
It's a mystery. It's a drama. It's an action. It's a thriller. It's like a message on civil rights. Yeah. The best way to think about it is, a lot of people are going to tell you it's Reservoir Dogs and Django Unchained, because those are both Tarantino films.
Yeah. Which I just want to say from the get-go sounds like the most superficial comparison you can make.
Right, just because it's Old West.
To an actor's, to a director's own movies.
It's it's the movie that I thought of like almost immediately, or I mean maybe a little bit into it, is The Thing.
The Thing?
The Thing, the 1980-something John Carpenter, Kurt Russell.
That intrigues me.
You should go watch. One, Kurt Russell's in it. With the same mustache he has in Bone Tomahawk.
He just is doing that now. That's his thing. I think he figured it out. That's what people want to see.
Right. And then it's got the same guy. His name is Morricone, I think. He's an Italian composer that did the score for The Thing. So it's very 80s. You need to watch it and then talk to me. Because
I might even go see it this weekend. No,
it's long.
It's 3 hours long. It legitimately is.
I think it's as long as The Revenant.
No, it's longer. It's 2:55.
But when I watched The Revenant, I was like, man, this is long. When I watched The Hateful Eight, I was like, I was about it from start to finish.
Right. Which I will say,
that's my personal.
Yeah, and I've heard people say like, especially our buddy Logan, who always he tends to chime in on our arguments from time to time. He had said to me, man, I actually fell asleep during The Hateful Eight.
I heard a lot of people walked out.
Which I get it. Even not having seen it, I get it. But I enjoy the idea of movies like The Revenant or like Hateful Eight. I'm not trying to compare them. I'm just they require patience and investment because so many movies now. Not that Mad Max isn't a phenomenal film, but and I think Mad Max is the best case scenario of a movie that does that right. But let's talk
pure kinetic energy.
Like pure kinetic energy without like
because that's like a 2-hour movie, I think.
Yeah, but Mad Max has a lot of substance, and I'm just thinking about a movie like this so dreadful looking. And you can hit me upside the head if you so choose for saying this. The so dreadful looking Captain America Civil War.
You don't think it looks good?
I think it looks like absolute trash, and that's just my opinion. Again, we had this discussion the other night. I'm really not a fan of the oversaturation of these universe movies that are now taking over the industry. But I don't want to talk about that right now. Yep. This is 2015, a year in review. We're talking about A Hateful Eight.
So, I mean, I don't, like I said, it's a mystery.
It requires investment.
A lot of it was me, like, where's it going next? Who's who? Right. So, I don't want to say too much, but that's my movie of the year. The acting, score, directing, script, everything, sound design. Dude, I was literally cold watching this movie.
Because of the...
So, Tarantino made it a point. He refrigerated the set so that the actors were actually cold. Because a lot of movies, they'll put like the breath coming out of their mouth. They'll do that in like CGI. Yeah. I'm sure The Revenants was real too, but it's got that, and then it takes place in like a log cabin essentially. Yep. So you constantly hear like the wind, like kind of like in Krampus, where it's like, like howling through. I don't know. I was literally cold watching it, which is awesome.
That does sound awesome. Yeah, I got to see it. I'll probably see it this weekend or something.
So that's our top movies of the year.
Yeah, that's top. Top 5 for me, top 10 for you.
Do you want to do a disappointment?
Let's
movie
do
disappointments. You were disappointed
in? Before we go to Goodnight Mommy, because that's going to be both of ours, I just want to say that it's got to be The Green Inferno, because I wasn't and the reason that it was more of a disappointment for me than it was for you, and I can confidently say this, is because I wasn't really that familiar with Eli Roth.
True, yeah.
I had seen a little bits of Hostel and like other movies, but like I didn't really know that he's essentially one of Hollywood's biggest clowns.
He's a hack.
He's a clown, and
Speaking
I'm sorry.
of clown, he's got that movie called Clown.
Oh, he does have a movie called Clown. This movie was supposed to be premised on the 85 cult movie Cannibal Holocaust, which I've seen. The only reason I can't recommend it is because of the brutal actual murders of animals. However, if you can somehow look past that, the movie has an extremely provocative ending, and it's brutal, and it's very anti like white man in a good way, or white woman.
I feel the exact same way.
Wait, have you seen Cannibal Holocaust? I'm talking about Cannibal Holocaust.
I'm just very anti-white.
Oh, as am I. However, The Green Inferno, I'm not... anything that could have been cool about this idea, a group of tourists gets lost in the wilderness, there's cannibals, and anything that could have made it look like some kind of social commentary, it all thrown out the door. Not that it needs to be a social commentary. There's only one legitimate instance of like terror in the movie.
And it's right at the bit.
Which is like the first death.
Yeah. And it just goes down from there.
You know, and it's literally some of the worst acting you're going to see. Just some of the worst waste of an idea that you're ever going to see. The
poop jokes, dude.
There's poop jokes. There's
like with cartoon fart noises.
Yup. And then there's the Scooby-Doo plans, which is almost a staple of Blood Feud every episode.
There's the jerking off.
There's a jerk off scene. It has it all, and all while making these native tribes people looking like total idiots, which I'm not a fan of. So, you know, there's no substance, there's no characterization, there's almost no real, like, genuine horror in the movie.
Yeah. And the only horror in that movie is that it got made.
I think, sadly, that is the case. So that's what I have to say about Green Inferno.
Sure. My biggest disappointment of the year, not a horror movie.
Okay.
I guess if I had to pick a horror movie, maybe the new Paranormal Activity.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've seen all the other ones.
Just because they said that this was the last one and it ended it on a really low note.
Okay.
But my biggest disappointment was a movie called Victoria. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's a German film, and the plot line of it, or the idea of it, had me super intrigued. So the premise is it follows this girl named Victoria from the start of her night at a nightclub to the start of the next day. And it's all one shot, and similar to something like Birdman, but I guess they actually did it all one shot. 2 hour long shot. They did it like 3 times. And she gets caught up in like a bank robbery. And I was like, that sounds really cool. Like, you're going to get to see like the bank robbery in one take, and just like, I was like halfway through and I was like, this is terrible. Like, I don't.
Wow.
It just like the one take wasn't even like impressive to me. I was really disappointed. Like, I don't even have a lot to say about it.
That's too bad. It sounds ambitious, and it just sounds like...
I mean, I appreciate that, you know, they did it in one take, but that's not enough to cover up the fact that, like, the story's not very good. Like, some of the dialogue's not very good. I don't know. So, those are our disappointments.
No, well, one more.
One more, yeah. Those are individual disappointments.
This is the joint disappointment.
Oh, dude, if Eli Roth was here, he'd make a joint joke. Oh.
Which you can bet he would. An Austrian film called Goodnight Mommy. Mm-hmm. Not very widely advertised, I don't think.
To be fair, I did see a lot of people when the trailer first dropped for this on Facebook talking about how creepy this movie looked.
And the trailer does make this movie look really cool.
Yeah, just watch the trailer and be like, that was really good.
Watch the trailer, yeah. And the only thing I will give this movie credit, the trailer makes you suspect one thing about this movie that ends up not being the case. And that's actually what I didn't like about the movie, because I liked the premise of the trailer more than I liked the movie's premise.
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, Goodnight Mommy
Goodnight Daddy
is about a mother who she's a model. She has to get surgery. She leaves her boys alone at a house. It really doesn't make much sense. Two identical twins at her house, and then
her sons,
right? Her sons. Yeah. I'm sorry. And then she gets back, and they she has this really creepy, really well done, like face mask on.
Like it's like a wrap
gauze.
Yeah, gauze.
And I don't want to spoil too much, because I do think this movie is worth watching. I think.
I don't think I could recommend it, to be honest.
There's some cool metaphors and stuff in it that there's weird like Holocaust and biblical imagery that I don't know if it means anything, but like there's some interesting stuff, some interesting like. That's about all I'll say. But other than that, I thought the direction of this movie was a complete disappointment. I almost turned it off halfway through because of where it was going, and especially near the end, I almost turned it off. This movie does leave questions that are unanswered, and it is open to interpretation, but I almost don't really think it's really worth trying to make those interpretations.
Yeah, you pretty much summed up my thoughts on this movie. It's just not very good. Like, there's some cool shots in it, but
the other cardinal sin this movie commits is that like a movie like The Hateful Eight, you're constantly wondering, where is this gonna go? and unfortunately, it kind of just ends up going in the most blah direction.
Blah.
Maybe with a hint of provocative air at the end, and that's about it.
Yeah,
I was really upset because I wanted this to be.
It's not scary.
Yeah, it's not scary at all.
And it's a little creepy for the first 10 minutes, but
for the first 10 minutes.
After that,
that's about it. Maybe the setting was a little cool. You can actually, I think you can predict the movie within the first minute of the film. You can predict what happens.
Yeah, no, I did. I said that to the person I was watching it with.
Yeah,
and
because I think we both made that prediction. I didn't really vocalize it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's that.
So
not too many disappointments, thankfully.
Yeah, it
was a pretty good year. Let's real quick touch on.
Do we want to do upcoming
films that we're excited for, or maybe just thoughts on upcoming films that we know about?
Yeah. Do you have any in mind?
Well, the first one that I think we can both agree upon is a Sundance film called The Witch.
Yep, that was going to be my first one.
Don't know much about this film. It looks like it's set in the Puritan kind of era of early colonial America, and it's about something to do with witchcraft.
Yeah, I'm trying to see as little as possible about this before I go watch it.
I think the first trailer is safe to watch.
I still don't want to watch it.
You didn't watch it?
I didn't watch the first trailer.
It doesn't really give much away, but it just looks so uncomfortable, and I'm very excited for it. It's called The Witch.
I guess outside of that, there's a movie called High Rise that's coming out.
Yeah, that actually, it looks okay. It looks interesting.
I'm intrigued. I don't know if it's going to be like one of the best movies of 2016.
With Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
It looks like a social commentary.
Which apparently it came out in 2015. I don't know where. Maybe that was like Sundance or something. Or like some. Whatever.
It looks interesting.
And then, like, other than that, it's a lot of superhero stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new Star Wars. And then I guess, I
did see, the new trailer for the third upcoming Star Trek film. And as a fan,
terrible.
Yes, as a fan of the first two movies, very much so, this movie looks horrendous just from the trailer. Complete with the Beastie Boys soundtrack, the fact that the Fast and the Furious director is doing it, just dirt bikes in space. That's all I need to see, I think. I'm going to see it, but... What
do you think of The Boy?
Yeah, we're going to see that.
We're going to do it?
I don't know how good... I think we're going to do The Boy.
Okay.
This is about... really, really briefly, this is about a woman who's doing some nannying for a very wealthy family, and there is the twist is that the boy that she's nannying is in fact an inanimate doll.
Right.
And I don't really want to say more than that because I don't want to even give anything from the trailer away if you don't want to watch it. But
yeah, I didn't really watch a whole lot of the trailer because I feel like this is a type of movie that would spoil a lot of itself in the trailer. So
I don't know how much faith I have in it, but it looks interesting, and I think maybe we won't end up doing it, but we should at least both see it.
Yeah,
I'm going to see it.
Oh goodness, I just looked at the director of it. The only other films he has done...
The Devil Inside.
He made The Devil Inside, which I heard was one of the worst movies of ever. He did Stay Alive, which as a 12-year-old boy, I enjoyed. But that was the one where there's the haunted video game. And if you died in the video game, you died in real life.
Well, that might be an indication of what we can expect. But
yeah,
we'll see. What else? I'm trying to think of some other movies that are slated to come out this year. I don't know if there's many.
I like how they're doing the Star Wars franchise. How they're doing like spin-offs on every off year. You know what I mean? Or no?
I do, and I will say that I'm actually not a fan of that, but I understand. I get it.
I think the Jungle Book movie looks okay.
The Jungle Book looks kind of cool.
I think there's a movie called, what is it called? 999? Is that what it's called? Coming out in a couple months about like a bank robbery. It's got the guy from Breaking Bad, not Walter White, but
Bryan Cranston?
No, not Walter White.
I haven't seen the show. I'm sorry.
It's got Aaron Paul is his name. Okay. It's got Woody Harrelson, Norman Reedus, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Anthony Mackie, a bunch of like younger actors, and they're doing like a bank heist. It looks pretty cool.
Okay.
Oh, The Nice Guys. Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't heard about that.
So this is coming out from, he directed Iron Man 3, Shane Black, and it's got Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe, and they're like private investigators in the 70s, and it looks like a goofy crime thriller type thing. So
cool.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I know. I
don't. Oh, the animation studio that did Paranorman and Coraline is got a new movie coming out, and their movies are always pretty good. Yeah, other than that, at least right now.
There is the Rob Zombie film that might come out this year, which it originally got an NC-17 rating. Correct. It's about, don't know what it's called. Do you know 31. What it's called? It's called 31. It's about a group of clowns that apparently are
kidnapping and torturing and
people. And he actually edited the film so that he could get it down to an R rating.
Right.
So that just intrigues me. I actually have never even made it through his Halloween movies.
Really? Have you seen The Devil's Rejects?
No.
That's his best movie.
I've never even seen a full movie of his. I haven't really tried to watch it, though. So he does a brutal job, so that's going to be something we investigate.
I guess that's it for our upcomings. So let's jump into the Oscars. Came out this morning. Best Picture. You got Bridge of Spies, the Tom Hanks movie. You got Brooklyn, Mad Max, Room. Have you heard of that movie?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Spotlight, The Big Short, The Martian, and The Revenant. What are your thoughts on that?
My biggest surprise is that I didn't see Bridge of Spies, but that sounds like a joke to me.
Well, it's a Steven Spielberg film, but yeah,
just sounds like an utter joke.
I would be okay with literally any of the movies winning Best Picture. Other than that, I didn't see Brooklyn.
Yeah,
either.
I heard The Big Short was phenomenal. I got to see that. I heard it was phenomenal.
I think it's either Spotlight or The Revenant is going to take it.
I would be very surprised if The Revenant won Best Picture. I would be stoked, but I would be very surprised. I love the movie, obviously, but I would be very surprised. The Martian, I don't think The Martian has a chance to win.
I was kind of surprised at that being nominated.
Mad Max would be cool. I mean, it would be cool. It would be interesting for an action movie that actually deserves to win,
right?
Because that movie was very good.
Right.
Very interesting. Wow.
All right, let's go actor in a lead role. You got Bryan Cranston, Eddie Redmayne, Leo DiCaprio.
What are these movies for? Okay.
Matthew Damon and Mike Fassbender.
Now,
I think this is Leo's year for sure.
Wow, man. What on earth? So, the Danish Girl, Trumbo, Steve Jobs. This is a pretty weak lineup.
Other than Leo, I think.
I think this might be Leo's year.
I think Leo's pretty much a lock.
To be honest, I would agree with you.
Actor in a supporting role, I think, is the most stacked category. You got Christian Bale for The Big Short, Mark Ruffalo for Spotlight, Mark Rylance for The Bridge of Spies, Sly Stallone for Creed, and Tom Hardy for The Revenant, which I was surprised by, but happily surprised. Your thoughts?
Only having seen one of these films, I already know Tom Hardy's a contender. However, I have heard that Chris Bale is excellent. Apparently Sylvester Stallone.
He won the Golden Globe.
What you say is excellent. I wouldn't give Bridge of Spies the time of day, but I haven't even seen it.
I know when that movie came out, a lot of people were saying that this Mark Rylance guy had a pretty good shot, but all these other movies came out after Bridge of Spies. I really want Stallone to get it.
Okay.
Fun fact. So the original Rocky came out 40 years ago, whatever. And that was his first, I think, and only Oscar nomination was for Best Actor for playing Rocky. He didn't win, but how crazy would it be if he won an Oscar 40 years later?
Playing the same character. But in a supporting role.
Right.
Which at that point it wouldn't really matter.
Right.
That's really interesting. Honestly, that's way more interesting than the Best Actor.
Yeah. Because Chris Bale, I've heard is pretty good. Tom Hardy, I think, knocked it out of the park in The Revenant. Mark Ruffalo is really good in Spotlight. So.
I can't see. I don't have a good reason to make an assertion here, but I think Tom Hardy has a really good shot.
Yeah, I think he's got a shot for sure.
All right, let's go to actress.
Keep in mind this is three nominations for The Revenant now.
I'm so shocked. I mean, I think it deserves it, but I'm very shocked. Okay.
Best Actress. You got Brie Larson for Room, Cate Blanchett for Carol, Charlotte Rampling for 45 years.
Jennifer Lawrence
J-Law for Joy, and Cerise Ronan for Brooklyn.
I don't know. I don't have a reference.
I hope Jennifer Lawrence doesn't win.
That's what I would say.
And I think Brie Larson, Room being the only film I've seen of these, I think she's got a pretty good shot at it.
Man, the best actress and actors are weird this
It's a weak year, yeah. Supporting role, pretty weak as well. Jennifer
McAdams.
Jason Leigh is nominated for The Hateful Eight.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Kate Winslet won the Golden Globe for Steve Jobs, which was kind of surprising. Alicia Vikander, she was in Ex Machina. Not nominated for Ex Machina. Yeah.
Wow.
But not nominated for Ex Machina, but it's nice to see her get some recognition.
Okay.
Animated film.
Inside Out. Man,
Inside Out's probably
as a person that's not well, let's go through the list.
Yeah. I've only heard of 3 of these. Yeah. So let's just go through the ones I know.
I've only heard of like 1. So.
Inside Out, obviously, Pixar. Shaun the Sheep was a bomb at the American box office. Okay. It's by the people that did like Wallace and Gromit.
It looks like it.
I've heard it's pretty good though. And then Anomalisa is directed by Charlie Kaufman, who's a very artsy director. Huh. And this is like a stop motion puppet type film. And I've heard it's phenomenal. Which it probably won't win just because Pixar Disney wins every year. He did Being John Malkovich, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
How interesting.
I definitely want to see that, yeah. I'm kind of pulling for it just because it's like an indie whatever.
Yeah. What are the other ones? I'm sorry, hold on. What we skipped a few. Oh, well, yeah.
When Marnie was there and Boy in the World. Never.
I don't know.
Yeah.
As someone who's not a fan of animated, like, child-oriented movies, Inside Out was a really good movie. And
it's got another nomination too.
A lot of feels during that movie. Cinematography. This makes.
The cinematography category is pretty solid. Carol, never saw it. Mad Max is nominated, which is cool. Sicario is nominated, which is interesting, because the guy that's nominated for Sicario, this is his like 13th consecutive year of being nominated for cinematography.
Okay.
He's never won. He did like Skyfall.
Wow.
He did, I'm drawing a blank.
He's probably one of those, it's probably always solid.
Shawshank Redemption, I'm pretty sure he did. His name's Roger Deakins, in case you want to go look. Hateful Eight on there, I'm happy about, but I wasn't like, when I watched Hateful Eight, I wasn't like, this should get the cinematography.
And then, of course, The Revenant.
I think The Revenant's probably gonna. Yeah.
Well, these categories are weird, man.
It's a weird year.
There's some like ones that kind of make sense, and in my opinion, some that I think are just gonna steal the show.
Costume design. You got Carol, Cinderella, Mad Max. This is Mad Max's 4th nomination, I think.
I think Mad Max will probably win costume design. The Revenant was really good.
I could see him giving it to The Revenant just because of like his chapped lips and like the frost on him.
So good. Wow. So disgusting at times in that movie.
Or they could give it to Danish Girl. I mean, they made Eddie Redmayne a girl.
Yeah.
So that's something that I could see the Academy
directing.
doing.
Okay.
Pretty similar to Best Picture for directing. You got Max, Room, Spotlight, Short, and Revenant.
What's your predictions on this? Because I could see Mad Max taking this one.
I'm pulling for Mad Max. I think The Revenant has a shot at it just because, they filmed it. Natural lighting.
It's nominated for so many categories.
It's got the most nominations, I'll tell you that.
I mean, the cinematography and it's beautiful in that film. I'm not saying other films aren't. That was one of the things that stole the show in that film. Okay.
Documentary, I think we can skip over.
I'm not only because I'm not familiar.
Short documentary. Editing. You got, again,
Force Awakens.
Yeah, Mad Max, Big Short, Spotlight, Revenant, and Force Awakens. And not that I thought the editing in Force Awakens was bad. It just wasn't anything special to me. You know what I mean?
I wasn't even thinking about this. This is the first one we've seen of Star Wars being nominated. First nomination.
It's on there a couple more times.
It's weird. That's weird. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if The Revenant got it or Mad Max. Yeah. One thing that I didn't say about The Revenant, but I really liked, is it was almost like paintings come to life. So when it would like set up a scene, it like would do like a landscape. Yeah. And it looked like a painting. Yeah. And then it would animate the painting, which I thought was really cool.
And the shots, there's so many weird shots in The Revenant that are like from the bottom up, looking at, and you can see the very skeletal trees. Yeah. Oh man, it's so weird and it's cool. Makeup and hairstyling.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. What was the one above that?
Foreign film. I've heard this Son of Saul movie is pretty much a lock from what I've heard. But
okay.
Makeup and hairstyling. Max, the 100-year-old man who climbed out something, and never heard of it, in The Revenant. Again,
that's gonna be rough.
I think The Revenant will probably win it just because
I think so too.
It's the more artsy of the films.
Music, is there anything worth?
So I have a question. So you saw the new James Bond. What did you think of Sam Smith?
Right.
So what did you think of his Bond theme?
So I listened to the song before I saw the movie, and I thought it was garbage.
I haven't listened to it yet.
Okay.
So
I thought it was garbage. Now I hate the idea of everything Sam Smith stands for as an artist. Not the fact that I know he's. I
don't even know what he stands for.
Not at all his political stand. Like I think Sam Smith is gay, and I'm absolutely not talking about that. I just mean he's just a commercial artist. I could give a shit. However, the song does fit the movie, I think. Okay. I listened to Radiohead's song, and it's cooler, but I can see why they didn't use it.
I am really disappointed that Wiz Khalifa wasn't nominated for Fast and Furious See You Again.
That's weird.
He was nominated for a Golden Globe for it. I don't know. It's been a long day without you, my friend.
Well,
I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
I don't know.
Rip. Sorry. Paul Walker.
Sorry. But yeah, it was okay. I think it sounds like a Bond song to wrap that up. That's all I have to say.
So for original score, Hateful Eight's on there. And I think this has got a 90% shot of winning. Because this dude's 80-something years old. He's done scores for everything. Because the Academy, a lot of times, it's about politics.
Yeah.
It's not about necessarily who's the best, but they consider, how much you've done before and whatever. But I was kind of surprised to see The Force Awakens on there because,
I don't know where that came from.
It was good, but it wasn't
it's Star Wars.
It's
a lot of it's recycled.
I guess, yeah. Production design, which is the sets and stuff. Mad Max, I think, has a good shot.
I think Mad Max might have that one over The Revenant, but we've got Bridge of Spies, Danish Girl, and Martian competing.
The Martian, yeah.
The fact that The Martian is... I mean, I understand that movie was supposed to be good, but I don't...
It was a good movie. I don't think it was Oscar-worthy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it didn't get Best Director. I thought they would throw it in because it's Ridley Scott. You know what I mean?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Short film, never seen them. I usually go and watch them every year. They show them at the DIA.
Oh, cool.
But I don't know if I'm doing that this year, so I might try to find them somewhere. Short film, sound editing, and I always get them mixed up. So sound editing, I think, is the creation of new sounds, whereas sound mixing is just
how they appear in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Again, Star Wars, not sure what's happening there with that Star Wars nomination.
Because a lot of it's already stuff that, the lightsaber sound, the blaster sound, that's been around for 40 years.
Yep. So I don't think that's... You got Mad Max, you got The Revenant, you got Sicario.
A lot of repeats this year.
And The Martian, yeah. It's a weird year. And then sound mixing is pretty much the same movies.
Except Bridge of Spy instead of Sicario.
It's a little bit strange. Visual effects, the only Ex Machina I've seen.
There you go.
And this actually doesn't really make too much sense to me.
For Ex Machina?
I don't know. Yeah,
her whole character.
Sorry. Yeah, right.
It was visual effects. I thought it was really well done.
Visual effects.
Star Wars getting visual effects makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think personally, I think Ex Machina deserves a shot at Best Picture, but that
I think visual effects will probably go to either Star Wars or Mad Max, maybe The Martian because it's all in space. The Revenant's visual effects. I mean, the bear was
apparently is real. Did you know that?
Leo was actually mauled by a bear?
No, just the editing. That's apparently a real bear, and they made it.
I don't know if I buy that.
I don't know. That's what I've heard.
I don't know if that's true.
Am I a gullible?
Maybe. I think you're being a gullible bear.
Maybe.
Best writing for adapted screenplay.
Sounds kind of weird.
Yeah, well, they do adapted and they do original.
Oh, so Brooklyn, Carol, Room, The Big Short, and The Martian.
Which are all based on books.
Yeah.
I think either Room or The Big Short.
Yep.
Original screenplay, let me just say, and this is the last nomination that we have to do. Bridge of Spies, Ex Machina, Inside Out, Spotlight, Straight Outta Compton. At one, I'm a little disappointed Hateful Eight didn't get it. I mean, Tarantino's been nominated almost for every one of his movies.
Weirdest looking categories.
But
yeah,
have you seen Straight Outta Compton?
No.
of all the awards to nominate it for, and it's a good movie, screenplay seems weird to me. And I don't know if you've heard, but like last year there was a lot of like controversy because the Academy is made up of like 90% white males over the age of like 60.
For sure, which is,
and like people were a little upset like that it's most like if you scroll through it's mostly white people. It almost seems like they were like
they threw it in.
We got to give it to
So another reason I don't really put much stock. I mean, it's fun to see what wins.
Yeah.
But
I think Spotlight's probably going to win Best Original Screenplay. I would like to see Ex Machina win.
I can see Ex Machina not winning anything just because.
But at least it's there.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's it.
That's our 2015 year in review.
Yep.
Maybe we'll do a reaction episode after the Oscars, which are our end of February.
Yeah. Again, though,
like
I don't put much stock in this, guys. You know what I mean? Like I think we enjoy the movies we enjoy, and I think I know like what movies I think deserve to win, and other people think differently, and that's the point.
Right.
And this is a council of like 90% white men, like
which is weird to me because it's made up of all people in the industry,
right?
So I don't know.
You know, it's fun to at least follow for a second, and that's all I can say. That's what's going on. Leave a comment. Do you agree? Disagree? It's gonna be a weird year at the Oscars. Just looking at it, we do have to wrap up. It's been good. 2015 was great.
We're going to try to get back into a little weekly routine.
Yep.
I think maybe we'll just take a week off and start with The Boy because that comes out next weekend. And then it's The Boy, The Witch is coming out.
There's some other films we'll do. Not sure yet.
We're even thinking about doing an episode about a comic book.
Which I think we should talk about another time when we can. Because
when we got more time. Yeah. No, we'll wrap it up. I'm Neil.
I'm Sam.
I'm Steven Spielberg.
I was Master Chief at one point in my life, but that's far behind me. Mm-hmm. Thanks for everything in 2015. We'll be coming at you hard
in
2016.
Good night.
So until then, see you next time.